In this episode of Raiders All 22, we take a look at the Raiders' big win over the Bears in London. This was the best game of the season in terms of the play calling, scheme, and the execution, so there are a lot of good things to talk about. One thing the Raiders had to deal with going into this game is that Tyrell Williams and several other receivers were out due to injury, so they actually played with 4 receivers who had a combined career total of fewer than 40 receptions, which is just nuts. So the tight ends were heavily featured in the passing attack. Let's take a look at some of the plays. This is 13 personnel. The third tight end is Derek Carrier. He's on the far left-hand side of the line, and he's going to run a shallow crossing route. It's going to be wide open because the other receivers were running routes. 2 of them downfield, Waller running an out route. Really good play design. The game also featured a lot of pre-snap motion and misdirection, which I love because it puts pressure on the defense to correctly diagnose the play and to stay disciplined. So Waller goes in motion to the left, Carr bootlegs to the right, Moreau runs a pivot route and picks up the first down. Nice play design. Waller has been every bit as good as the hype. Here he's singled out in coverage at the split end position, and this is, with his big body and his strength and speed, this is a very easy pitch and catch to pick up 9 yards on a first down. So Waller is lined up outside of right tackle Trent Brown, and this is going to be similar to the earlier whip route by Moreau, where the action looks like it's going to the left side with Jacobs in motion here, and Carr is able to find Waller with Clinton Dix in coverage, and Waller drags the safety for a good 9 yards to pick up the first down. Now this is my favorite play of the game. This is 23 personnel, so 2 running backs, 3 tight ends. Moreau's next to Trent Brown, and he's going to come off the snap looking like he's trying to block someone, sneaks across to the backside of the play, and then picks up a huge chunk of yardage. A couple snaps later, Moreau shows his route running in his hands, so he's going to run an out route. Linebacker Roquan Smith is going to pick him up in coverage, and Moreau does a nice job here, when he takes his turn out for the out route and shows some really nice hands. And the broadcast view of this shows what a beautiful ball this is from Derek Carr. Now, if you go back to the pre-draft scouting reports on Foster Moreau, a lot of people were saying he's primarily a run-blocking tight end. But I think what he's shown in Indianapolis and in London is that the guy is a very good receiving threat. So let's look on the other side of the ball and talk about run defense. Tariq Cohen is flexed out left. He's going to go in motion. And I was really concerned about how the Raiders would defend this guy. He's like the second coming of Darren Sproles. He's fantastic in the open field. But watch the disciplined play by the Raiders defenders here. So we stop right here. LaMarcus Joyner is the forced defender. He's got to stay on the outside shoulder of the receiver trying to block him, Allen Robinson. And he does this, so Cohen has nowhere to go, and Whitehead brings him down. Here's another play with Cohen. He is wide right. He comes back in motion, and Daryl Worley does a fantastic job defending on this play. He manages to defeat the block of the tight end Burton, and then forces Cohen to the inside, where he gets swallowed up by 3 Raider defenders. Nicholas Morrow, Josh Morrow, and Carl Joseph all came flying to the ball, and the defense and speed on the Raiders' defense is hugely noticeable. They went with a big youth movement, and I was actually really surprised because, when Gruden was rehired, one of my main gripes about him is he doesn't trust younger players. That was the case 20 years ago, but it looks like maybe an old dog can learn new tricks. Now, P.J. Hall had a really strong game. You can notice here the left guard tries to cut block him, but Hall uses his hands to just push the guard down, keep his balance, and then swallow up the ball carrier. This is a really nice play here by Hankins, who is lined up in the B gap, tosses the right guard aside, and then swallows up Tariq Cohen for tackle for loss. The defensive tackles have been playing really well, and in several cases where the Bears are trying to run to the right, like you can see it again here, Hankins and Hall diagnose the play. Montgomery tries to cut back in the hole, but he is met by Nicholas Morrow, who makes a nice tackle. Here's another example of P.J. Hall Watch, this run's going to go to the strong side, the right side of the offensive line. Hall correctly gets on the outside of the left guard who's trying to block him. He totally jams up the play, and Legic comes off a double team to tackle Montgomery. Let's take a look at our run and pass blocking. So Colton Miller here is going to get a fantastic kick-out block on a pitch to Jacobs to the weak side. It's really impressive. Watch this contact right here. Boom. He just totally erases the cornerback from the play, takes him away from it, and the Raiders end up picking up over 20 yards on this run. And Marcel Aitman here gets a pretty good crackback block on Khalil Mack. So this only works if that crackback block is made, so that springs Jacobs free, and Mack doesn't catch him until like 15 yards downfield, where he takes Mack for like a 7-yard ride. Now you hear year in year out about just how good Rodney Hudson is, and he showed it in this game. So this is going to be a 1st and 10 run to Richard and 11 personnel. Look at the movement we get. Hudson and Good get really good push and create a big lane, and this only works if Richie Incognito left guard blocks well, and they follow up with the same play on the next snap. And you can see Incognito there walling off the right defensive tackle. A fantastic job there by Incognito. And then on this touchdown run in 21 personnel with Jacobs, you can see the power of the interior blocking. So Hudson's going to fire off the ball, get a hand on the nose tackle, find linebacker Roquan Smith, drive him back, and like Roquan can't even see the ball carrier because he's getting ping-ponged around. And there's also a really impressive block here. Watch Richie Incognito totally wall off and block out the right defensive tackle. So Jacobs wasn't even touched for like the first 6 yards of that run. Plus he's got the great vision to see that cutback lane and bring it home. Darren Waller showed impressive blocking here. He's lined up at outside the Colton Miller. He shifts over to the right, gets an excellent block on Roquan Smith, and that enables DeAndre Washington to get into the end zone. And Roquan does end up shedding this block eventually, but it's too late. He's been pushed back too far, and Waller actually obstructs the path of the safety Jackson as well. The tight ends were also called heavily to help pass protect in the chip. So here you're going to see both Moreau and Waller blocking Khalil Mack. So this is 22 personnel, so 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, and this is actually a run fake. A really nice play because it sucked the linebackers up a bit and created space for Derek Carr to hit Trevor Davis on a deep in route. And by the end of the game, this is the game-winning touchdown. The Bears' defensive line was totally gassed, and you can see it on this play off the snap of the ball. So many of their players end up hitting the ground due to blocks, and Hudson gets to linebacker Danny Trevathan, and you can see both Ingold and Jacobs leaping over the pile. It's almost like salmon swimming upstream. Or if you're Jonathan Abram, I guess you could say salmon. Okay, so let's take a look at the pass rush. It really showed up in London. We got 4 sacks. It was the best game of the season. It wasn't just the 4 sacks. We had pressures throughout. So here Crosby's lined up at right defensive end, and he picks up his first career sack. An awesome display of technique. So what he's going to do is going to fire off the ball, get a really good punch, and then switch with a left club, right arm over, swim to get to the quarterback. Nice job chaining together multiple pass rush techniques to keep the offensive tackle off balance. And then I love this about Gunther's system. He shows the mug look a lot where he will cover both A-gaps. So you've got 6 defenders at the line of scrimmage. This puts a lot of pressure on the offense to try to guess which guys are coming and pick up their blocking assignments accordingly. Now, if you watch Benson Mayowa, he's lined up at left defensive end. He's going to run a stunt. And in the confusion caused by this mug look, he's going to get a free path to the quarterback, and he swallows up Chase Daniel. What's so funny, the right guard is so focused on picking up Nicholas Moraro on the blitz there that he doesn't even see Benson Mayowa coming. Maurice Hurst showed, this was definitely his best game of the season, showed the burst and the penetration and leverage we were hoping from him in this play. It looks like they're pulling a stunt. He gets upfield so hard and is getting really good punches on the offensive tackles to keep him away from his body. He's able to get the sack there. And then here's Benson Mayowa again lined up at left defensive end. He's not going to get the sack on this play, but he does a nice job of winning the battle of leverage on the right tackle and getting a pressure on the quarterback, which results in an early throw and a completion, short completion on a third down situation. Pro Football Focus has noticed that on average, a quarterback under pressure, their rating drops are about 30 points, which is huge. So here, Arden Key is going to split the gap between the guard and the tackle, flushes Daniel out of the pocket, and Mayo was in full pursuit, and that results in the incompletion downfield. So here's a good example, especially from the interior of the line, how disruptive interior pass rush can be. Legit's lined up in zero technique on the center, and he's going to club and penetrate between him and the left guard, and manages to force an early throw from Chase Daniel, which is picked off by Gary Conley. This is the last play of the game. Hurst here ends up beating 3 blockers to get the sack to close out the game. And this is sweet. So he rips underneath the center, slips past the guard, shoves little Tariq Cohen out of the way. Cohen's pissed, but the bottom line is those guys just got beat bad against a 3-man rush with 6 guys in protection. And then Hurst here, after he gets the sack, follows it up with the Khalil Mack celebration, which is hilarious. It's great to see Hurst playing well. He reminds me a lot of Rod Coleman in terms of his ability to explode off the snap and get underneath the offensive guard trying to block him. So we're going to look at some different plays here by Derek Carr, smart passing plays. And I think, a lot of Raider fans and the media have been pretty harsh on Carr, and this is true for any team. People always blame the quarterback when things are not going well. And, if you look at what happened last year, he had 2 rookie tackles playing, one of them who shouldn't have been on the field, and the other one who was really injured, and just constantly getting pressured. And there's not much you can do when you don't have functional pass protection. But we saw in London, what Carr is able to do. He hit 78% of his throws, which is an awesome completion percentage. In situations like this where there isn't anything downfield, he smartly checks it down to Jalen Richard, versus DeAndre Washington, who picks up a nice gain. But the main thing is what Carr's doing is he'll throw downfield when there's a good lane, but you'll see in some of these plays, like, the defense is playing well off, right? In this case, Keelan Doss is getting a 10-yard cushion from the cornerback. And so Carr's just going to hit him very quickly on a little hitch route, pick up a nice 8-yard gain. Something to remember too, especially in the second and third games of the season, the bad losses against Kansas City and Minnesota, we were throwing a lot of horizontal stuff, which I don't really like because it encourages defenders to play the line of scrimmage, which also makes it difficult for us to run. What we did when we were in London is run a ton of misdirection and get guys in isolation, which created good opportunities. And this is great play design here. The pass is going to go to Josh Jacobs. The 3 guys on his side of the field who are going to run routes are all going to clear out, run deep routes, and this is going to allow Jacobs to slip out between the tackles and then easily pick up the first down. It's one of those things too, it's almost like we should use Jacobs more in the passing game because he's so good, but then Richard and DeAndre Washington have been doing a good job in spot duty. Okay, so check this play out. I love this play. Carr sees Jackson coming up on the left side, so he's showing safety blitz. Carr motions Renfro. The blitz comes, but Carr just throws over the top to Renfro, who's open, and Renfro makes an incredible cut there, a la Josh Jacobs. So I haven't really talked about Josh Jacobs much, but well before the draft, I thought the Raiders should take him, and I actually predicted the morning of the draft that they would take him, and they did. But what he has are 2 things in particular that you simply cannot teach. So one is fantastic vision, and then coupled with that, terrific agility. So he's able to see the hole even in real time and then make the right. Like, look at this cut right there. He saw the cornerback coming and he did a spin move to avoid the hit. So Jacobs has exceptional vision, agility, and the other thing he has is really good power. So you'll see it on this snap here, and what really should have been like a 2-3 yard loss, because he runs with such power, he keeps his pads low, and he uses his off arm to post and to stiff arm the opponent. Like right here, watch it. That's 1 defensive lineman, 2 that both should have tackled him for a loss, and instead he ends up picking up positive yardage. And this is important because managing a 2nd and 12 is a totally different situation from like a 2nd and 7. Really changes how the playbook and what your options are. So I hope you guys are enjoying the bye week. Certainly I've got a smile plastered all over my face. It's awesome to be 3-2. Let me know your guys' feedback on the video, and please like and subscribe. Take care.